Good day, Cherry Blossom family. We are back with another Friday with Friends, and this one is super exciting for us because we have someone that is very special to us here today, Kathleen Dorsey. She is the founder and facilitator of Collective Wisdom. Collective Wisdom is a mastermind group, and for those of you not familiar with what a mastermind group is, it is kind of a group where business people and entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs get together and talk about the challenges that we may have in our individual businesses, maybe in our individual lives, and how that affects us. Kathleen, as I affectionately call her, like the mama bear, we are part of Collective Wisdom. And we think it's a wonderful thing. It's really helped us. Believe it or not, those of you who may not be in leadership positions yet, leaders still need leadership, and we need guidance. We don't know everything just because we made it to a place that other people have not yet. That does not mean that we've got all the answers. And sometimes we need things like collective wisdom to help us find our way. So before we kind of go into the depths of collective wisdom, Kathleen, tell us a little bit about yourself. Your amazing story and journey. You have done some pretty impressive things in your professional and personal life. Tell us a little about that before we get into the collective wisdom stuff.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks so much for having me today. We talk all the time, but to do this is a lot of fun, so I appreciate it. I have been an entrepreneur since 1998, so you guys can do the math on that. So what made me become an entrepreneur was that I was working for a bunch of different companies, and I kept looking at who was leading me and said, I can do that. And so I did. So I opened a mortgage company in 1998. I had been in that industry for a while before I did that, which is always smart because you can have lessons learned. You can see what other businesses did well and did not do well. So when you open yours, you're kind of having a running start. So I did. I opened a mortgage brokerage firm and grew it. Funny story is, I don't know if you remember something called the Penny Saver, but
Yes, yeah.
it was a magazine that came free to you every week or whatever it was, and you could it was kind of like Craigslist. It was like people were selling stuff in your area and you could buy it. Well,
Like before Craigslist, that was kind of like Craigslist, yeah.
it was, right?
Yeah.
So I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment at the time. I took half of one of the bedrooms and started my business. And I went to the Penny Saver and I bought this big long table that was everything. That was where I worked. That was where the fax machine sat. That was everything. And I bought this big, tall, ugly file cabinet. And that's where all my stuff went. So I started my mortgage company with $100 purchase from the Penny Saver. And as I grew, I kept that table. I kept it to remind me kind of where I started.
Okay.
And it always, back then, you still had fax machines. So I always had my fax machine on that big long table, no matter where my office was. So anyway, so I started it to the point where my fax was my phone. So I was on a call with a client and they're trying to fax me something, and of course it's busy because we're talking. So I say, well, try in about 10 minutes, it should be free. So they end up, that's how I started. Well, I grew that business to a 7-figure business. I had 22 loan officers under my wing.
Wow.
And we did pretty well. And then 2008 happened. I think everybody could remember back then that the whole real estate industry just went kaboom. It just blew up, imploded right in front of our eyes. I had to maneuver. I had to figure out, what am I going to do? So I actually was offered a partnership to start an SEO company. I had decided to get out of the mortgage industry. It had been very good to me. However, it's not what I enjoyed doing. I had been doing it for 19 years. I had been in that industry for that long, but it didn't get me up in the morning. But it's just what I did, and I did it well, and it did well for me. So I look at that whole implosion as kind of a, I don't know, get out of jail free card, because it made me make a pivot and a decision that I probably would never had made otherwise.
You know, it's funny because we're sort of in a similar place now, you know, like in a different set of circumstances, but sometimes the environment changes and it seems like it may be doom and gloom, but it's really working to your benefit if you kind of position your mind in the right way, you
Yeah,
know?
it absolutely, and it's just kind of outlook. And I mean, Derek, how many times do I talk about mindset, and how that could make and break your business? So
Yep.
from an SEO company, I started hearing this thing called Web 2.0. Once again, this was back in 2008. Web 2.0 graduated and evolved into social media. So I started in social media before it was even called social media, and I still do have that company. I'm rebranding it. It's called Global Results, but it's about to be called Clarity Consulting Group, and that's 13 years later. So I got into
Great.
social media and started to teach people how to do that. And then about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I decided, I don't know if I can get away with being a digital marketing strategist when I'm 75 years old. So I would like to think people would still come to me, but I'm not rolling the dice on that one. So I said, what is going to be my business in 25 years? Did I just give away my age? I don't know, but 20 some years, what will be my business?
When
And
you're,
when
when
I,
you're 50, see?
yeah, thank you, Derek. I
There you
appreciate
go.
that.
Exactly.
Um, so what I came around to was a Masterminds company, and that's what Collective Wisdom is. The reason I came around to that is because I had been creating and running them for everybody else, for business organizations for 15 years prior. Um, so why not do it for me and as a business? And I'm able to facilitate some really good conversations that help entrepreneurs and business owners. So that's where I am.
I know I gave my perspective on what a mastermind is, but from your perspective, like how do you see it and how do you hope other people kind of see this opportunity? Because it is an opportunity. You hear about something like this and it's an opportunity. If you're a business person, you feel stuck, you know, this is something that can help you kind of get, you know, to that next level or get beyond, you know, that sticking point. How do you think that, let's share your perspective on how you view the mastermind group as a whole, yours or anyone's?
I think Mastermind as a whole is an opportunity for business owners, especially business owners, to come together and learn from each other's experiences. And so the benefit of that is you see perspectives and you hear perspectives that you would never hear otherwise. You also are going to be challenged. So how many times are you going to challenge yourself? You're going to say, hey, I really like this idea. How many times are you going to be the devil's advocate to yourself? Not too often. So masterminds will do that for you so that you can see every angle and every part of your decision that you're about to make. And I'll be honest with you, entrepreneurs are great at the big ideas and great at starting companies, but they get, number one, they get stuck in the weeds. And this Masterminds allows you to get out of the weeds and actually work on your business. And they also don't hold themselves accountable too well. So Masterminds allows us to keep you on track and to keep you focused. So that's how I look at it. If anybody's looking for a business coach, you know, business coaching is so valuable, but in my mind, Masterminds is that times 10, because we have 10 other business coaches surrounding you, meaning they're giving you advice from their experience.
And it's happening like in real time, like as they're experiencing these things, they're sharing them with you. You know, sometimes for me, it's a validator. Like I think things and I don't say them, and like maybe I'm the only one thinking it, or this is only happening to me. But then you hear someone else in the group say it, you're like, oh, like I'm not. on this island by myself. Like there's other people here, and maybe they can have some experience or some perspective on, how I could make a change or how I could, move off the island.
Yeah, I hesitantly call it business therapy because
It kind of is.
it kind of is. You leave the group, you leave the meeting, and you're like, kind of what you said. Oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. I'm not crazy. I'm not failing. I'm not, all of those I'm nots. Because everybody around you is, we're all in the same boat.
Just oftentimes I feel like, in the few moments that you decide in your life, sometimes you're one of those people who just go to church on the here and there. And every time you go, the message is totally tailored to you.
Right.
Every month, I'm like, oh yeah, I can just gotta, sleep through this week and this month and just let, everyone else talk. But then the message is totally tailored to me, And I think everybody probably feels that way, that the message is tailored to them in some way.
Which proves the point that no matter what kind of company, what industry you're in, we all have the same stuff. We all have the same issues. We all have the same decisions we have to make. So that kind of proves the point. And my job is to make sure that after your meeting for the month that you say time well spent. Time well spent, and I'm glad I went.
You touched on something that I think most people, when they get into a point where they can start their own business, like the first thing that you think is, I don't have to be accountable to anyone. I can just do whatever I want, and somehow, some way, doing whatever you want just doesn't work. It just doesn't always lead to, the results that you think it's going to lead to. And you brought up something else that you get in these weeds, and I can attest to that. Because you have these ideas and you know that they can work, but you never really count on all the things that it's going to take to get there. I cooked in my past, and I find that sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, how do you do this?" And I tell them, and then they never really want to do it because it's like, well, that's way too many things.
Yeah, too many steps, Derek. I'm not doing that.
But with the entrepreneur, like you're like midway in when you find this out, you're like, okay, well now it's too late to go back, and I have to go forward. I just got to figure out a way, and the group definitely helps with that.
Well, great. And you really always are accountable to someone. It's normally your clients or your customers.
Yes.
And you don't realize that instead of one boss, you kind of have 10 if you have 10 clients, but you're able to manage that. Yeah.
They want different things, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's go ahead. But it still gives you the freedom that entrepreneurship, that's what it gives. At least that's what it gives me.
With freedom does come responsibility.
Yes.
That's the truth. Tell us a little bit, something personal about yourself, like something, I don't know, it doesn't have to do a collective list of something, a little tidbit of interesting Kathleen information.
A couple things. I used to be a pretty active tennis player. Derek and I were just talking about that. I used to teach tennis. That was the best gig in the world. I would come home from college for the summer. I would teach tennis in the morning, I don't know, 4 hours, 5 hours. I had the rest of my day. I was in shape. I was tan. I was, it was great. So so that's one fun fact about me. And another is, while I was in college, I lived in Paris for a semester.
Wow.
So I got to travel through Europe, and that has always influenced me in that travel, you can just learn so much that you're not going to learn anywhere else. So
did you eat pate out of a can and all this, like the whole Paris experience?
I did the whole thing. I had cheese and a baguette next to the Seine River. I did the whole thing. So I wish that, looking back, you do all these cool things when you're young and you don't realize how cool they are until you're older. And I wish I had paid more attention to some things while I was over there, but it was a great experience.
It's funny that the greatest jobs I think I had also when I was a younger person, when I first started cooking, it was like the best thing ever. And then somehow, some way, the need or the importance of making money changes your perspective. Like, you know, if you think about it, you could do this job forever. You could have been teaching tennis to this day, you know, and just enjoying every day of your life, you know, without having to go. You wouldn't have this story, but you know.
Well,
You know,
maybe this story is going to bring me back to that.
it
So
just
maybe,
it
yeah,
brings you back. Yes,
maybe
yes.
I'll end up teaching tennis one day at the beach.
You know what I'm saying? Life is so cyclical, and it's the truth. You know, here I am. I'm back in North Carolina. You know, so you know it's crazy. It brings you back. Well, we're gonna wrap up. We're not gonna go too crazy today. Sometimes, you know, I get a little wordy, but I think your message behind you, "Are you ready for change?" really encapsulates why we opt into the mastermind. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but for those listening, if you ever read the book, the Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, it mentions mastermind, it mentions mindset, belief, and all those things that we often talk about here on you know these cherry blossom social media outlets as well, because they're necessary. They're not just words. They're not just, you know, the fluff. They're actually things that you need to get through this crazy, you know, sometimes unpredictable journey of entrepreneurship. You know, so
And I always say, when somebody asks me, you know, should I open a business? I always say, are you 150% in?
it,
Because if you're not, it's not going to work.
that's right.
There's going to be days that you're 25% in, that you're looking on Indeed for the next job, you know, because you're questioning, why did I even do this? Why is this even, you know, why am I taking this journey? But then there's days that you're 200% in. So I always say, make sure you're 150% in, because it's a little bit of a roller coaster, but it's a fun ride.
A little bit is an understatement, yes.
It's a fun
That's
ride,
the
Derek.
encouraging nature right there we're talking about. So if you're gonna give like this is your pitch to entrepreneurs out there to kind of, this is your few seconds to go out there and just tell them why, like, come on, join Collective Wisdom, boom, go.
Um, I don't feel like I have to sell collective wisdom or pitch it, only because that's not who gets the most out of it. Who gets the most out of a mastermind group, whether it's collective wisdom or another, it are people that are ready for change, that people that own a business and are ready to turn a corner or to get to the next level, however you want to say it. And they're searching for this. And when I think it just comes down to which facilitator and which group do you click with. So if you're an entrepreneur and you just know that you need some more guidance, you need some more structure, you need some more perspectives on what you're doing, then a mastermind's for you, period, and stop. So the point is to find the right one. And a lot of people will ask me, well, what about industry specific masterminds? Like, it's only people that sell light bulbs are in the masterminds group. And that gives some great perspective, but it also kind of keeps you in a bubble of just that industry. And it doesn't allow you to see other perspectives outside of the industry. So that is one question that I get often. And that's kind of my perspective on that. So entrepreneurs out there, if you feel alone, if you feel like you need a place to throw some ideas at the wall and get some perspectives, please come visit Collective Wisdom. That's my pitch. That's my pitch, Derek.
That's
Is
good. That was perfect, really. I thought
yeah, you just need to come visit it, and
that
then
was
you
so
either
honest and organic. I love it.
yeah, you either get it or you don't, or it's not for you. But you know, you just come
And that's
visit it,
okay.
and yeah, it's okay, and it might not be the right time for you. So how is that, Derek?
That was perfect. I think that was right. If I were listening just as a listener and I didn't know this before, I'd be like, okay, that's your honesty about it is refreshing, that you weren't selling it, that it is actually something that's meant to help you, not something for just here for you to make a living off of. You know,
Right.
so that's really, really good. I think people resonate with that. But if you are ready for a change, put your phone right up here to this QR code that can take you right to Kathleen's information. Her website. You can schedule an appointment with her right from there. It's fantastic. She is so tapped in to new technology. It's awesome. She's dragging me there too. So, thank you so much. And next time I see you, I want to see that table.
Oh, okay. Very
I
good.
want to see that. I mean, maybe have people carve their names in it now, huh?
All right, Derek.
People who've had success and successfully kind of graduated, if you will. You get to carve your name on the table of love.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks, Derek, so much for having me today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your perspective. I think people are going to get a lot out of it. So, and for all of you, have a great day. Thanks for joining us for Friday with Friends. We'll be back next week with another one.
Okay.
All right.